I'm torn between talking about Moses, which will probably just turn into a rambling of a guy I really like, or talking about fraternal correction that Jesus teaches us here. What do y'all need to hear about? Correction. All right, a little bit more drama with that one. Okay. So, Jesus is giving his disciples a model of charity to follow, not a model of domination or a model of power, a model of exertion of force. It's a model of charity. It's a model of reconciliation. It's a model that must come from a desire of being reunited with somebody who, because of some woundedness in themselves, have wounded you or have wounded us. Some misguided. There are very few people in the world who are really bad people. There are bad people in the world. They're broken, like real broken. Most people, though, are just selfish. They have a lack of empathy, or even from time to time a lack of empathy. And so when they move through life seeking their own good, sometimes they unknowingly, or sometimes knowingly, but decide that it's worth the pain, trample on other people, hurt them, sin against them, right? I, as a priest, might do this unwittingly, or sometimes even knowing that it's going to cause harm when I'm tired and I'm frustrated at several other things that happen during the day, and somebody comes up to me and says, "Father, I need some of your time," and I say, "No, I don't have time right now." Right? That's a very small example, but a very real example of how that person needed me to do something, and they were within their rights to ask it because I'm their priest, I'm their father. They should be able to ask my time. And selfishly, having the time, I said, "No, I don't want to deal with you right now." Right? That's a failure of empathy on my part. It's a failure of charity. Right? So I'm not, because of that, I'm not a bad person. And y'all need to know that because of your sins, you're not bad people. You're good people because you've been recreated in the image and likeness of Jesus Christ, to the new Adam, through your baptism. You're good people. And sometimes we just get a little bit too busy and fast in life, and we fail to recognize the bull that we've become in the china shop of life, right? And we hurt people, intentionally or unintentionally, but probably not in any case here because we're bad people, right? So what we need to recognize is that as we hurt other people, without that true malice of a sociopathic murderer, so other people hurt us without that malice too. They don't necessarily mean to be disrespectful. They might intend to be disrespectful, but only because they see it as the lesser evil to obtain a greater good for themselves. That's not a calculus a Christian should use, but nevertheless, that's where the sin lies. Not in some hatred towards you or some malice against you, any more than you have against anyone else. And so when we recognize that people sin against each other all the time, without this sort of demonic evil that we associate with other people's sins, but never with our own, right? We want to look at those sins, those evils, those wounds, as a thing that we desperately desire to have removed, healed, and reconciled, right? And so Jesus' form of private and public admonition, of correction, is not a penal correction. It's not saying, "You've done this, therefore you pay for it with this." His form of correction, his form of punishment, if you will, is, "You've done this, what do we need to do to fix it so that we can all be happy and whole again? So that we can be together." Because that's what we really want, really, So he says this is the way you do it. First of all, don't shame them, right? The devil uses shame. God uses guilt. There's a difference. Shame is, here's the way shame works. It's the way the devil works. And I do this once in a while, and then I realize how horrible it is. But I do it as a joke. The devil will say, "Oh, so you're not going to snack between meals as an abstinence today for the Lord, huh? Well, what about that piece of chocolate there? You should just go ahead and have that. Go ahead, it'll be okay." And then when you're like, "Maybe it'll be okay," and you pick it up and you eat it, he's like, "Ha ha! Shame on you. You ate that chocolate you shouldn't have. Oh, God hates you now, right? That's shame. God does not use shame. If you feel shame, know that it's coming from the devil, okay, and cast it away. Now, guilt, on the other hand, is different. And guilt is, I've been tempted and I failed. Something hurt me in my soul, and my soul is hurting. That hurting in my soul is what we call guilt, right? It's the same thing as the pain in our body that lets us know that something is wrong in our body. If we did not have that, we wouldn't last long, right? Pain is a wonderfully good thing. It should not be shied away from. Even emotional pain at the loss of someone, for example. That pain is good. We should not ignore it. We should lean into that and embrace that pain because it trumpets the love that we had for someone. It recalls the amount of goodness that person put into our lives that now we'll have to find some other way of living in that emptiness that's now there. Right? So pain is a good thing. Guilt is pain for the conscience, pain for the soul. So don't ever shy away from guilt. Lean into it and let it inform you about what is wrong that I need to get fixed. Because God never puts guilt, never allows us to feel guilty without an ability to have it fixed. If you feel guilty about something, there is a way to fix it. And most likely it's through the sacrament of reconciliation. It may be through a closeness, a restored closeness to the Eucharist. It may be something else, but there's always a way to fix a wound that is being proclaimed to us through the means of guilt. Shame, though, cast it away. Don't waste your time with shame. Y'all, do not be ashamed. You've committed sins. I've committed horrible sins. I struggle with shame. But that's a struggle. I don't claim it. I know that it shouldn't be there and that it's from the devil. And that's part of the battle that I undergo with the devil every day. And I suspect a lot of you do the same. Although maybe you don't recognize it as such. Realize that it is a battle against the devil, a temptation to discouragement, to excommunion. That's what the devil tries to do with shame. Cast it away. You don't need that. Okay? It's bad for you. Now, so he says, go to the person by yourself, alone. Just you and that person, so that they're not ashamed. We're not trying to embarrass anybody. They probably don't know, well, I shouldn't say probably. They may not know that they've hurt you. And they may just be looking for an opportunity, well, they may not know it, but all they may need is an opportunity to have that hurt revealed to them so that all of a sudden they become horrified at their behavior and they say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I did that. Or if they did, I am so sorry that I chose myself over you. I shouldn't have done that. Right? That intimate moment is probably the most profitable, the most powerful way, the most likely way to gain the attention of the person that you want to gain. Now, remember, you can only do this if you want to be friends again. You can't do this if you want to say, ha, see, you did it wrong. I want an apology from you because I deserve it. It doesn't work. That's not the way this works. That's a punishment. That's retribution. That's a penalty. That's not what this is about. This is about making up. Shaking hands, making nice again, being friends, right? So if you have that desire, you go to that person, you say, look, this is what you did. I had somebody do that to me the other day, and I won't say it because the reason that they were so mad at me is because I embarrassed them at Mass. I called them out by name. I was having fun. I thought everybody else was having fun. They were not having fun. And they came to me and they said, privately, in my office, can I talk to you? They talked to me, and they said, you really made me mad. And I was like, I have no doubt about that, but please tell me why. And they told me, and I said, I am so sorry. I did not realize you had that experience of that situation. I promise that it'll never happen again. We're friends again. No problems. No big deal. That's the kind of experience or effect that the Lord wants to allow to happen in these situations, right? So we go seeking reconciliation. Now listen, if you show up though, and they're like, hey, I don't care, buzz off, I'm going to do me, you know, and you're like, I'm still really hurt. We might not be friends again, but what you're doing is actually separating you from the whole Christian community. Let's talk about like a notorious sin, okay? Like, let's say somebody is in our Christian community here, and they're living a very unchaste life. They're not married, but they're living together, and they're pretending to be married. They're pretending to have a family. They're pretending these things that they're testifying. So they're bearing false witness. They're being unchaste. They're disrespecting their own children by not being married and having their children raised by mom and dad who are married with the sacrament of marriage and the grace that comes with that. Let's say that's happening, right? And you know that. So you go to them privately and you say, hey, Betty and Bill, listen, you know, you guys are hurting yourself by receiving Holy Communion when you're outside of the communion with the church. You're testifying to this. You're making a mockery of marriage, and your children are going to suffer because they don't have the graces coming from you and you and Bill or you and Betty that they need. We should fix this. There's a fix for this. Why don't you go talk to the priest and he can fix this for you? And they say, no, we don't care. Get out of our business. This is our family. This is our business. Okay. But because the person who went to them loves them, they're not going to stop there, right? They know now that their friendship might be in jeopardy, but they're willing to risk that because they want their friends to be in heaven, right? So they go and they get a few other people who are also Christians, who also know that this is wrong, and they do kind of what we call an intervention, right? You go to an alcoholic's house with a bunch of people and you say, look, I'm not the only one nagging you about this. We all know that this is wrong. And because we love you, we want you to fix this. Not for us. We don't want you to fix it for us. Not really hurting us. It's hurting you. It's hurting your family. Can we help you to fix it? We love you. Can we reconcile this so that you could be in communion with us again? Right? That's the next step. Again, it's not to shame someone, but it is to establish that what I see as an individual is seen objectively and universally by everyone else. That you're the one, not you, not y'all, but that the sinner is the one who is misseeing things and not me. Right? I'm seeing things clearly, but because of their sinfulness, because of their hardened heart, because of their wounded conscience, because of their desperate need for something that they feel like they can't get by doing things the right way, they're willing to blind themselves to the fact that they're doing something wrong and hurtful. But now everybody else is saying that to them as well. Not to say, haha, we are better than you, we're right, we don't suffer that, and you do, so let us condescend to help you. No, not at all. Humbly on our knees, we're coming to you, begging you. We want you back in the body. We want you with us. Please, 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 let us help you fix this. That's step 2. Jesus is so intent on reconciliation that he gives us yet another step, and that's going to the church. We know what that means and what that would have looked like in the Old Covenant. In the ancient church, in the apostolic times, is that these people who went to talk to this person would go to one of the apostles, and they would make the apostle aware of the situation. And the apostle would say, we have a cancer in the body, and we need to address it. And with his authority, which is the authority of Jesus, he would go to that person, and he would say, this is the situation, I'm laying it out in front of you. Let me fix it for you. Help me help you, or you're dead to us. D-E-D, dead. Like in the unmodern Christian sense of dead, in the unnice version of dead, in the, oh, shouldn't we all just ignore each other's faults and just get along, kind of against that, right? In the not happy way, in the we're never talking to you again way. We're going to be mean to you. We're going to ignore you. You're cut off. That's sort of like the last-ditch effort. Because it's not that the apostle is going to do that thing, but rather that if they don't receive the assistance of the apostle, they will perpetuate that condition that they're in. And the Christians will acknowledge that they are unwilling to fix themselves and I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but you cannot help somebody more than they're willing to help themselves. Have you ever been in a relationship where you try to help somebody more than they're willing to help themselves? Any movement there at all? No? Yes? Okay, well, for those of you who have not, let me tell you what all of those in the room who have experienced. It's exhausting and it's fruitless. You try to help somebody more than they're willing to help themselves, and you will pour your soul into it, and it'll be like water off the back of a duck. And you'll get angry and frustrated and heartbroken and sad, and there'll be no benefit from it at all. This is where we are in this situation, and the apostle is saying, if you don't fix this, you don't belong to us anymore, because we're not going to try to help you more than you're willing to help yourself. Right? And you might say that's mean, and it might actually be part of the definition of mean, but it is right and just and good and merciful, because it seeks communion. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about the discipline of excommunication in the church. The penalty of excommunication in the church, the discipline of excommunication in the church, has nothing to do with making a person go to hell. That is the effect that it will have. But its intention is to shock them into an awareness. We call it rock bottom, right, in the Anon groups. That they hit rock bottom, that holy crap, everything in my life has just gone to pot. I've been cut off from the life of the church, and I've lost my destiny to heaven. I need to fix this. Even that is directed towards reconciliation. That's the modern day equivalent of taking it to the church, that the church says, because of this notorious sin or because of this unrepentant sin, you're excommunion. You're excommunicated. Now that happens in far less dramatic ways in a parish life, right? Where a priest might say, hey, I've heard of this situation. Can I help you? And they say no, to which the priest says, then do not come up for communion again until we fix this. That's excommunion. It's not that the priest is making that happen. The priest is articulating a situation that exists already. You are outside of communion with the church, therefore I will not give you communion. Right? All of this is directed towards trying to get somebody back into friendship. It's not I don't like you and I'm glad you're gone. It's I like you so much that I'm going to make it a point to do everything that I can to try to get you to be restored to communion. But if you don't even listen to that, I'm not going to waste my time on you. You're dead to me. Because you're dead to the Lord, which means you're just dead. And nobody wants that. Fortunately, even in that situation, the Lord does not leave the person alone. He continues to bombard them with the grace that perpetually flows from the cross. And at any moment, when the Holy Spirit deems fit and that person responds and they turn their hardness of heart back to the Lord, there is the sacrament of reconciliation to restore a person. And not only the sacrament of reconciliation, but because we're all so small people here, we don't see all of the mechanisms that the church has for this. But there are apostolic, papal powers that Peter possesses that can restore even huge fissions in the church. There's no brokenness in this world. There's no brokenness among human beings that Jesus has not given in this life and in the next the power to reconcile and to heal. Right? But we have to know where those tools are. And this is where Jesus is telling us a little bit about where some of those are. Look, go tell the person. Be a man, so to speak. Sorry, ladies. Be a woman up. And go talk to them one-on-one. This won't surprise you. I had another letter written to the bishop. I had no idea. The person never came and talked to me. Never told me anything about the issue that they had. Not once. Didn't even talk to Father Tim. Just wrote a letter to the bishop. You know what happens there? The bishop doesn't give it a second thought. It's utterly ineffective because that person was just venting. She had no concern for my good, no care for my benefit at all. She just wanted to let it be known how displeased she was at something that wasn't wrong that I was doing. She just didn't like it. If you want to be effective, in changing someone, in drawing them back to a fondness of you or a friendship with you, you got to do it this way. You can't break the chain of command. You got to come and talk to the person. Then you got to go get some buddies to talk to them. Then you got to go talk to the next person up the chain and the next person from there. And then you can be done. But doing that, if we all did that, I doubt any of us would ever get to steps 3. Probably not. But we don't do that because we don't trust in the Lord, and we don't want what the Lord really wants for us, which is for all of us to be together. Because let's face it, there are people in our lives that we're happy they're not around anymore. But the Lord's not happy with that. And when we're in heaven, we won't be happy with that either. So let's assume the best in people. Work diligently, slowly, and peacefully for reconciliation, and trust that the Lord has given us everything that we need to accomplish that task according to his own providence.